Have you ever heard of a stare-down so intense it changed history? I'm talking about one woman, with one eye, staring down the entire Roman Empire, and winning. That woman was Queen Amanirenas, a warrior and leader from the ancient African kingdom of Kush. In a world where Rome crushed everyone in its path, Amanirenas stood up and said, "Not today." Her story is about courage, defiance, and rewriting the rules. Picture Rome, the unstoppable superpower, legions everywhere, demanding tribute. But far to the south along the Nile was Kush, a proud, ancient kingdom with its own powerful queen. Amanirenas faced a choice: bow to Rome or fight for her people's freedom. For her, it was never a choice. It was a duty. As a Kandake, a queen of Kush, she ruled, fought, and led. This is the story of how a one-eyed queen from Africa took on the world's greatest superpower and walked away with her head held high. Get ready to travel back to the kingdom of Kush, a place Rome seriously underestimated. This is the ultimate underdog story, but this underdog had a bite as fierce as her roar. She didn't just challenge Rome, she gave them a history lesson they'd never forget, and she proved that respect is earned, often on the battlefield. So where was this incredible kingdom? South of Egypt, along the Nile, modern-day Sudan, lay Nubia, the heart of Kush. For thousands of years, Kush was a major power, building more pyramids than Egypt and thriving in cities like Meroe. They were famous for ironwork, a unique writing system, and above all, gold. The Egyptians called it the land of gold for a reason. This wealth funded massive armies and magnificent temples. The Kushite military was legendary, especially their archers. Their reputation spread across the ancient world. And yes, they had war elephants. Imagine being a Roman soldier and seeing that charge at you. But Kush's real secret weapon? Its queens. In Kush, women ruled as Kandakes, commanders-in-chief, high priestesses, and political masterminds. They led armies, managed wealth, and were revered as living goddesses. Powerful female leadership was the norm, not the exception. So when Amanirenas came to power, she was continuing a proud tradition. Kush was ancient, proud, fiercely independent, and had even ruled Egypt as the 25th dynasty. They were content trading gold and honoring their gods, until a new ambitious neighbor moved in next door. Everything was about to change. For centuries, Kush and Egypt had a complicated but stable relationship, sometimes rivals, sometimes partners. But in 30 BCE, Rome conquered Egypt, and suddenly Kush was next to the world's most aggressive empire. Rome didn't do neighbors, it did subjects. The first Roman governor, Gaius Cornelius Gallus, marched his legions south and started making demands. Rome's policy: pay taxes, provide resources, acknowledge Roman superiority. They saw Kush as the next conquest, a source of gold, grain, and slaves. But for Queen Amanirenas, Rome's demands were an insult, a threat to her kingdom's identity. Kush had never paid tribute to a foreign power and wasn't about to start. The Romans expected submission. What they got was a thunderous response, delivered not with words but with the march of armies and the flight of arrows. Rome saw a new frontier to exploit. Amanirenas saw a line in the sand. The Romans set up garrisons, expecting Kush to be intimidated. But Amanirenas had other plans. The stage was set for a clash that would echo through history. Queen Amanirenas didn't flinch when Rome demanded tribute. Her answer was a swift, decisive no. She gathered her elite archers, soldiers, and war elephants, and in 27 BCE launched a surprise attack, invading Roman-controlled Egypt. Roman garrisons were caught off guard as Kushite forces, led by Amanirenas and her son, swept through Cyane, Philae, and Elephantine. The Kushites overwhelmed Roman defenses, sending a clear message: Kush is not for the taking. But Amanirenas didn't stop at military victory. She struck at Roman pride. In captured cities, her forces toppled statues of Emperor Augustus, symbols of Roman power. They took a bronze head of Augustus back to Meroe, not as a trophy, but to bury it under a temple's steps. Every visitor would walk over the emperor's face, a daily act of defiance. It was the ultimate power move, a psychological victory as much as a military one. Amanirenas wasn't just fighting Rome, she was humiliating it. She proved that Kush would not be intimidated. The world's greatest empire had just been schooled by a queen. Emperor Augustus was furious. He sent a massive army under Gaius Petronius to crush Kush and teach Amanirenas a lesson. In 25 BCE, Petronius marched south with over 10,000 troops, retaking lost cities and sacking towns. The Romans destroyed Napata, a key Kushite city, and enslaved thousands. But Amanirenas was unbroken. She regrouped in Meroe, ready for the next round. In battle, she lost an eye, a wound that became her badge of honor. The one-eyed queen became a living symbol of resistance. Her injury only strengthened her resolve and inspired her people. The war raged on. Romans had heavy infantry, but Kushites had home advantage and guerrilla tactics. Kushite archers harassed Roman supply lines, making occupation impossible. Rome could win battles, but not the war. The deeper they pushed, the fiercer the resistance. Amanirenas refused to surrender. Her spirit was unbreakable. After years of brutal fighting, both sides realized this was a war no one could win. Rome could destroy cities, but couldn't hold Kush. The land, the people, and the queen were too resilient. For Amanirenas, a war of attrition against Rome was unsustainable. A true leader knows when to fight and when to talk. In 22 BCE, Amanirenas sent envoys to negotiate directly with Emperor Augustus. The Kushite ambassadors didn't beg for mercy. They came with demands, negotiating as equals. This was unheard of for Rome, but Amanirenas had earned their respect. The result? One of the most favorable peace treaties Rome ever granted. Rome withdrew from all occupied Kushite territory. The border returned to its original location. Most stunning of all, Kush paid no tribute to Rome. Amanirenas had stared down the emperor and walked away with a total victory. Her kingdom's independence was secured for generations. The peace treaty was a monumental achievement. Amanirenas had fought Rome to a standstill and secured her kingdom's freedom. She returned to her capital as a triumphant savior, not a defeated ruler. Her bravery in battle and wisdom in peace cemented her legacy. The kingdom of Kush thrived for centuries, free from Roman domination. Today, Amanirenas is a symbol of African strength, leadership, and pride. Her story reminds us that Africa has always been a land of great empires and fierce independence. She wasn't just a rebel, she was a queen defending her nation. Her one eye saw a future where her people were free. Her legacy challenges us to seek out more untold stories like hers. The next time you hear about great empires, remember the one-eyed Kandake of Kush. Queen Amanirenas proved you don't need to be the biggest to be the greatest, just the bravest.